What's up, lover girls? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Mars is in Aries. Mars just moved into Aries. My Mars is in Aries in my chart, so I am feeling spicy. And I want to talk about rejection sensitivity. And if you haven't heard of rejection sensitivity, essentially it just means that you are extremely triggered more than the average person by rejection or perceived rejection. Heavy on the perceived because if you are rejection sensitive, any kind of like slight or like anything that isn't even personal towards you, you take it as a personal rejection. So, if somebody's like, oh, hey, it could be as small as like, hey, I'm really busy this weekend. I've got a crazy work week next week. I can't make it work this week. Let's hang out another time. And you're like, you'll cut them off because your ego is like, oh no, not it feels rejected. Or like, the biggest thing is when we're dating people, when we're in the dating pool, every single person is going to be a no until it's your one person and it's a yes. So it's a lot of no's. And people with rejection sensitivity cannot handle, oftentimes, I find, dating because they can't handle the rejections. So even if, and the rejections aren't even personal, like I'm saying that word rejection because that's how they perceive it. And if you're watching this is probably, you're going to see yourself in it, or else why would you be watching it? It's called rejection sensitivity. But it's like the other person, even in the most respectful way, is like, hey, I don't really see a connection here, or, whatever. It just doesn't pan out. That doesn't inherently mean anything about you. But if you have old abandonment wounds, old like childhood trauma, if you have been, you know, dumped and it came out of nowhere in the past and felt like really jolted by that, all of those things are going to be old wounds that you carry in your field and therefore are really triggered by any type of perceived rejection. So what I see a lot with people is that they cannot handle dating. They can't handle dating because dating takes resiliency and it takes courage. Love takes courage. It takes courage to open your heart and be open and be authentic and explore connection. And people who are rejection sensitive are like constantly scanning for any sign that that person's not into them enough. So they end up like needing the other person to prove things to them. And it could go like, oh well, they should have took me to this type of restaurant, or why did it take them so long to write back or to call or to do this? And so really early on in dating, people will cut other people off, not because they have enough information to know if there's something there or not, but because their system, their hypervigilance picks up on some hint of what could be like a slight or rejection, or this person's like not into them enough yet. And they like cut it off before they get hurt or feel that sense of rejection. Like, even if two people just both know that it's maybe not it, if one person says it before the other person's like salty because they're like, well, I wanted to be the one to break it off. That is not normal. Like, we have normalized that so much in dating culture, and that is not why. Like, why? Why? If neither one of you saw it going anywhere, but the other person said it first, so what? They saved you a conversation. It's all based on the ego. Like, so many of us, we're living in our ego. We're not living in our heart. We're dating from a place of ego. We're not dating from a place of heart. And women, and this used to be me, so I'm speaking from my own perspective. If you follow me, if you listen to my stuff, you've probably walked a lot of the same path as I have, and that's why my content hits. So women who are fighting a really low sense of worth because of like childhood or whatever, like if you are fighting that subconscious belief, you need people to prove things to you. And in just like a normal, healthy, early connection, that's probably not going to happen. Like the healthiest connections that have the best chance of lasting are a slow burn and they start, and it's two people just like connecting and getting to know each other. But wounded feminine, the wounded feminine wants to feel like really, she wants people to prove things to her and quick. And guess what you end up with when you approach dating that way? Love bombers. You're like, oh my gosh, this works for me. Constantly showering me with compliments, like rushing intimacy before it's grounded, like buying me things, taking me to the nicest places, making me feel like a princess immediately. Yes, please. That all feels good to me. I like that. And I'm not saying like every one of you listening to this doesn't deserve every single one of those things, but there is an energy behind love bombing. It's not grounded. It's saying really intense things before there's even been enough time to really like get to know each other, understand each other on a deeper level. It's there's an if you really like slow down and let yourself pay attention to it instead of just like basking in it, there's an energy of I'm giving to you because I want something from you. There's like an extractive energy to it. Like a love bomber wants to bomb you with love so you become obsessed with them and then they feed off of that feeling until it burns out and then they rinse and repeat and go on and do it again. And then you're left like what the fuck just happened? So, it's really important that you check your ego in early dating because why does the ego get loud? The people with the loudest egos are the people that are fighting the lowest self esteem because everyone has an ego. An ego is important. We all need an ego. Without an ego, we would like think we could fly and like jump off buildings. Okay. So we need an ego. But people who are the most insecure and fighting off these old, like not enough feelings the most, their ego gets the loudest and grows the biggest. Why? To overcompensate for those old feelings. And the big ego needs to be fed. The ego is very hungry and it needs to be fed with constant external validation. And when constant external validation is what you're looking for in dating, you're going to end up with love bombers. You're going to end up in trauma bonds. You're going to end up together with someone from a place of toxic attachment or obsession or codependency and not like a healthy, co created union dynamic with someone, if you will. And I think the hardest thing sometimes for people who are like used to that chaos, and that was me, is like it feels intoxicating. It feels good. It's like, yes, more of this. Like you're like chasing a high. And sometimes you really have to get knocked on your ass several times before you realize like the high always plummets down. Like the high highs are always going to plummet and have low lows. And I believe that life will send you a low enough low that you'll be like, I can't fucking do this anymore. I cannot do this. I have to learn a new way of relating to people and dating. And um, you know, it's interesting because like my own story, I am in a relationship with a very grounded masculine man who helps ground me. Um, but it took me a while to trust that. Like when you do meet a safe and healthy man, it's really easy to sabotage it. Sometimes I find people sabotage it because they feel like they miss that chaos. And so they find ways to be like, oh, this isn't for me because it's not exciting enough or it's not intense enough. And they don't realize that they actually have an addiction to chaos and intensity. That was not my situation. I see that with clients a lot, and there are a lot of ways to work with that. It's like it takes a lot of it takes self-discipline and conscious awareness and determination that you want to build something long lasting and healthy and safe, and you're tired of the chaos. My situation, it wasn't that I ever felt like, oh, this isn't chaotic enough. But old fears of loss and like losing something, or, rejection, abandonment fear came in really loud and heavy. And it can actually take a significant amount of time, even with a safe and healthy person, for that to start to subside. And that's because the more you care and the more your heart is open in something, if you have a heart that's felt a lot of pain in the past, it's like, oh my gosh, no, 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 don't do this again. No, 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 no. Anxious, anxious, anxious. And it starts scanning for threats that aren't actually there, and like hyper scanning and over analyzing every little situation when nothing's actually wrong. Because the thing is, if you look for something hard enough, your brain can find evidence of anything if you look hard enough. Even if it's not actually happening, your brain will be like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? It's called confirmation bias. Your brain searches for evidence of what it believes to be true. So if you believe you're always going to be betrayed, you're always going to be abandoned, you have to fight for love, it always leaves, your brain's going to scan for evidence of that. So you really have to take back control over your thoughts and like recognize what's happening. As because so many of us, if you're not dating or like living a conscious life, which just means you're aware of your patterns and you pay attention to them. If you're not living a conscious life, you're just going to blindly follow like whatever the ego and your old trauma is telling you. And that's where self-sabotage comes in. So you really have to learn to be like, okay, I know what this is. I know what this is. It's okay. It's all right. We're safe. I know what this is. What are you afraid of right now? What are you so afraid of? How can I comfort you? And so there are so many ways that you can self-soothe without being like completely reliant on the other person to do so that you don't sabotage a good thing because of your old pain, because of your old fear. I made a video about this because I hate when people say, oh, well, if the person was a safe person, you wouldn't feel anxious. I disagree with that because it took me probably almost a year to trust the safety, because I've been in so many unsafe situations with men that I would like get triggered and then it would be okay and it would be safe. And I would get triggered by something and it would be safe. And I would get triggered and it would be safe. And it took it took repetition and repetition and repetition of my little spidey senses going off, scanning for something being wrong. And then, oh, nothing was wrong. Scanning for something being wrong. Oh, nothing was wrong. So it took a lot of times of him repeatedly showing up as a safe person for my spidey senses to finally be like, okay, I think we're safe. And, how long it takes for you is going to be dependent on the amount of trauma you have. And so like in terms of like betrayal or abandonment and rejection, which is essentially rejection, like being betrayed, being abandoned, that's rejection. And if you have had extremely painful experiences with abandonment, with betrayal, with rejection in the past, your body remembers that pain and it has adapted to like prevent you from doing things that it's risk averse. Your nervous system, your brain, it's risk averse. So it's like the last time we started to feel this sense of like love and openness, we got really fucking burned. So when you start to feel a little more open with someone, it's very normal for your system to be like, oh, hell no. And to get really loud with the anxiety, to start scanning for problems, to start creating distance, to start shutting you down, because it's terrified of feeling that feeling again. And, sometimes it requires going back and allowing yourself to feel the pain that you didn't feel from these past situations. And like, because that's what your system is so afraid of. It's so afraid of feeling old pain So if you actually like go and let yourself, so like when the old pain gets triggered, if you actually like allow yourself to feel it instead of like trying to make yourself feel better by being like distracting yourself or seeking outside validation to feel better, if you can actually just like allow that pain to come up and surface and release and metabolize, it's not going to rule over you. Meaning like when it gets triggered, when an old trigger comes up, you're not going to be like completely destabilized by that old pain because you've like released it and felt it. The brain essentially works off pattern recognition. It's not looking for necessarily what's true. It's looking for any familiar sign that history could be repeating itself. And it's wanting more than anything to prevent that. So, a lot of times, like with my clients, they'll say, oh, like, is this right or whatever, or, I'm feeling this way. When you are feeling anxious, you cannot hear your intuition. So your intuition, when people think that this anxiety is intuition, it's not. Like, so intuition might give you an answer that you don't want to hear, but if you are afraid of that answer, if you are in a dysregulated state of anxiety, you don't know. You don't know. You can't discern real from fake because your old wounds are running the show. Like your old pain is getting loud and it's destabilizing you, and you have no idea what's true and what's not. So you have to get back to a place of neutrality, of like regulation before you can think clearly, because you cannot think clearly when you're dysregulated, when you're anxious. And so what people think is like their intuition telling them something, it's not. You don't even know what your intuition's saying until you can like calm yourself down. And part of calming yourself down is being like, what am I so afraid of? Part of calming yourself down is creating internal safety, self-source safety. I don't need someone else to make me feel safe. I am good no matter what. All these situations in the past that hurt me, yes, it hurt, but was I good afterwards? And did something different come along, and did life go on? And was I a more evolved version of myself because of it? Absolutely. I'm good no matter what. I'm safe no matter what. Yes, I'm going to choose a safe person for myself, but I don't need someone else to act a certain way in order for me to feel safe. And when you can operate from that place, you have options and choices of people, because when you outsource safety, it's not easy to walk away from someone who is not in alignment with you, because you need that person whose energy probably reminds you of someone else that hurt you, probably all the way back to your childhood, to choose you, to make you feel safe, to make you feel okay. Your system holds trauma around abandonment and rejection, and it needs this unavailable person who is an energetic match for that person that caused you that original trauma. It needs them to choose you this time, that person. So like when I make these skits about secure and insecure attachment, and I'm like talking about how the person would act if they don't hear from their partner all day, they're like, oh no, that's unacceptable for them to not text all day. It's not about the other person. Because a secure person would be like, hey, this is how I feel about communication. And then there would either be changed behavior or there wouldn't. And if the behavior didn't change, the secure person's like, I don't think this person is for me. And there might be some grief and disappointment, but they can walk away. It's people who are wounded that have a hard time walking away from what is not good for them, because they just need to prove, because they feel like the only way to prove to themselves that they're good enough is to get that one person to choose them, that one person. Have you ever been in a situation with a hot and cold on and off again person, and someone literally 1,000 times better looking, more money, more successful, better than them in every way comes along and is showing you attention and interest in you, and you're like, no thanks? Because something about the energy of that one toxic person, your system is like, no, this one, we need their validation. We need their validation to feel safe. So if that's familiar to you, it's really important to go back and look at like, what is the source of this? What energy does this person carry that reminds me of a different energy? Is it your mom's energy? Is it your dad's energy? Is it someone who just devastated and ripped your heart in half when you were young? Is it their energy? Okay, so my story. My mom was abusive. She was abused by her father, and I don't speak to her, but she was an abusive mother. So it's kind of complicated because I don't really have a memory of like wanting her attention and love. I mean, she was just like not safe. So I don't remember yearning for her love or approval, just learning to like tiptoe around her behavior and like studying her and studying her moods to keep myself safe. It wasn't like, oh, mom, approve of me, because that wasn't ever something that she gave to me. In fact, if I had acted as if I wanted her approval, she would have intentionally withheld it or insulted me. So it was more about just like making sure I didn't rock the boat and stayed out of her way. But with my father, there was some of that, but I definitely did really want his attention and approval. He was more absent. Like he was a violent man, but never towards me. And he was angry and he could be a little like explosive, which I would see when I would be there. Sometimes I didn't live with him primarily. My parents never lived together. Thank God. But I did want his approval and I wanted him to notice me, which it seemed like he never really noticed me. So his energy was more like emotionally avoidant. He could be really like charismatic and funny, very strong, what I considered masculine presence at the time. Now I understand it's very wounded masculine, very ego driven, chaotic energy to him. But people liked him. People thought he was fun. People thought he was cool. People thought he was funny and interesting. And yeah, I think that is the energy that I really looked for in men. So it's like funny, likable, that kind of like false masculine, ego-centered masculine, but also like emotionally unavailable. And it's interesting when I think about it now because I had so much pain around my heart that trying to win the affection and crack open unavailable men actually kept me from having to fully open my heart. So this was not like a conscious thing that I was aware of, but more subconscious. Because when I actually met the partner that I'm with now and my heart finally started open, it felt terrifying. Not because he wasn't safe, because it was like, oh, I like have to really be, oh, I'm really in this. I have something to lose. And my body carries remembrance of how painful it is to lose things and to have love taken away. So I was like, this is actually fucking terrifying. More terrifying than clawing at the doors of unavailable people in this like cat and mouse, hot and cold game of attachment. The scarier thing was to actually open up my heart because then I had something to lose. Because when you are clawing at the door of an emotionally unavailable person, part of you knows you're never going to actually have to be emotionally available yourself. So it's like another form of protection in a sense. I really wanted to make this episode for anyone that resonates with the idea of being rejection sensitive, of having a deep-seated fear of betrayal, of abandonment that either keeps you from dating, keeps you in this loop of dating emotionally unavailable people, keeps you self-sabotaging. I used to be the queen of self-sabotage. I really wanted to make this for you and tell you that wherever you are on your path, there is hope for you. And it starts with awareness and it starts with consciously navigating these moments. Like you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are a computer program that was installed in you since childhood. and it's stored every experience you've ever had. And it's just running, it's an algorithm, and it's just like running data. But there is a soul inside of you, and that part of you can question those thoughts. And you can say, oh, wait a minute, is this rooted in truth, or is this my old pain? What can I give to myself right now to slow down these like rumination thoughts? How can I act in accordance with the version of me who is already chosen, who already feels safe within herself, who doesn't need external validation to feel safe? How can I act like her? How would she act? These are the kind of things that I teach in my one-on-one containers. Have a 90-minute rewire session for people that just want to like try out one session, and we can get to the root of your patterns and go from there. I also have a masterclass. It's 90 minutes. It's called Lover Girl Playbook. I dive much deeper into how to do all of these things. It's linked below in the comments, along with information about my one-on-one containers. If this really spoke to your heart, if this resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. All right. Until next time, Lover Girls.